When you're done, you got to tell us some crazy AI stories.
Yeah, AI stories. It's just not. It's not based in reality. It's based off hype. It's based off of like emotional investing. I basically break down like 30 questions that you should be asking yourself when you think you want to invest in a project. It's just all a game, and I hate the game. I wish it didn't exist. I'll keep it anonymous until the statute of limitations ends.
Nice.
I don't want to think that Bitcoin will be like the #1 cryptocurrency for the world.
Welcome to Amigospc. If you were looking for a podcast with high standards and an appreciation for the finer things in life, like water polo, ballet, equestrian riding, cricket, and trips to the countryside, you're in the wrong place. If you're looking for a podcast that celebrates drinking, random thoughts, wacky conspiracies, memes, crypto, cinema, and a lot of other things that don't really make any sense, then you're in the right place. This is Amigospc, and here are your hosts, Scott and Mark.
Hey, you! Yeah, you! You're hearing this for a reason. You haven't subscribed to the Amigos membership on Super Cash yet. For as little as $5, you can get access to our feed with no ads, and exclusive membership discounts and merch.
Jump up to our $30 tier and get everything plus direct access to us via our Discord channel, live Amigo AMAs, quarterly giveaways, and crypto merch. For $1 a day or less, you can support an Amigo out.
The Amigos back at it again. Today's episode is brought to you by Coastal Crypto, a leader in providing crypto mining equipment. They have recently found a source for the elusive Antminer L5 and the Goldshell X5, and that is featured on their website at coastalcryptomining.com. These machines are very rare. If you are a miner in the crypto space, I would definitely go check those out and inquire on their website as to details with the mega hash and wattage usage on those two machines. Today we are going to be discussing crypto. We have an author of a book called The Next Gold Rush, The Future of Investing in People, Ethan Turer. Is it Turer?
Yeah, Turer.
Okay. I for some reason,
You
I'm awful.
should have practiced before.
I know. Well, you know me. I'm not really good at names, especially last names. I butcher them. Yeah, I butcher them. So I do apologize if I butchered your last name. Before we get too much into your book, I do want to just let everybody know, since we do record this on YouTube, we are not financial advisors. Do your own research on things. When we discuss any particular cryptos or anything like that, it's just our opinion or the guest's opinion. If you could, Ethan, just tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive into this book.
Yeah, so I think my journey kind of starts in 2018 at the start of like the Bitcoin bubble. That's when I really started paying attention. I was like, why is everyone trying to buy Bitcoin? Like it was just like, you know, at the time 20,000 was an all-time high. It was a big deal. Now it feels like small potatoes. But that was right around, I was graduating college, and so I was really interested in like pursuing something interesting like that. And one of my first job interviews was for a startup, and they wanted to get into the crypto space because of that bubble. And they interviewed me. They said, what are you more interested in, the stock market, crypto, or sports? And I said crypto, like just like no question. And that, I think, was the beginning of my rabbit hole, because they hired me to like do crypto for them, even though I had basically no knowledge. And so it was just like trial by fire, learning everything, all in 2018.
So was it this job that basically you skyrocketed into crypto, or like were you dabbling into it prior, you know, invest trading, or like what was your like first experience with crypto?
So the company I worked for is called Unanimous AI. They're an artificial intelligence company. I was one of their first business hires. So my job was to find...
You got to tell, when you're done, you got to tell us some crazy AI stories.
Yeah, AI stories. You know what's actually interesting? one of the smartest people I've ever worked for is the CEO of that company. He has like over 200 patents to his name, and he has this like theory on AI that's similar to Elon Musk's, which is that it's going to take over. We're all doomed. And so just like Elon Musk is trying to create like Neuralink as a way to combat that, Lewis is the name of the CEO. He created an artificial intelligence that people can use. So he uses it's called Swarm AI. And so basically it's like an interface where we're all participating at the same time making decisions. And so we're controlling this AI together, and through our collective intelligence we actually can make decisions. And so it's actually really crazy because their claim to fame is that they were able to predict the Kentucky Derby Superfecta, which is like guessing the first 4 horses in a row. It's like nearly impossible.
Whoa.
And they were able to do it by swarming horse enthusiasts, like horse racing enthusiasts. So they just got like 20 people in a room, like, which ones do you think is gonna be first, second, third, fourth? And they got it like exactly right. But individually they made predictions and they were all wrong. So individually they didn't get it. It was only together. And so the CEO made a $20 bet, and he won over like $10,000 on that bet because of the artificial intelligence that he created. So it actually it was a really cool company to work for. I got lucky that they were like, interested in crypto. Like otherwise I don't think they would have needed me. I'm not like a techie guy.
The way you explain that though, that is very sci-fi. If I don't know if you are a fan of or have watched at all, or maybe even read the books of Westworld, but I've just recently been binging the very last season that they have, because a new season's coming out eventually here, and literally everything that you just described, Elon Musk basically is Delos, right? Or however you say that, Delos, right? He's creating the robots that is the theme park. Elon's the fun guy doing all the things. And then there is another aspect for those people that have maybe not watched this last season, but there is another technology that humans relate more to or maybe follow their life around. It literally, the way you described that sounded just like the Swarm AI.
Yeah, it honestly, like, a lot of our lives in the tech world, it's like we're living in sci-fi in real time. So
yeah,
you know, who knows what's going to happen with the AI. I don't claim to be an expert on any of this, but I'm intrigued by it, and I could like see how Lewis's vision like could work in a lot of different ways. Wouldn't it be great if, like, as a collective, like in the United States, we made decisions like that was collaborative? And like I feel like we're so divided with like government, like politics. Like it would be cool if there was an AI that like helped us make decisions that are actually good for everyone. And I feel like that AI as the medium could be a solution there. So it was cool working for the company.
Only problem is the CEO that puts the $20 bet in, right? Whoever has the control of the polling that helps everybody. So whoever has that in their hand will be what the problem's going to be, you know?
Yeah.
But yes, in a great situation, we would all be better if that could help us all come together. But there's always going to be some Jeff Bezos or Elon, right? That is going to do it in their own kind of aspect. That hurts everything. Possible.
Well, that's why we need crypto, right? Because it's decentralized.
There you go,
so
decentralized.
It being
exactly
in the hands of one big power player.
I mean,
True.
You say decentralized. I think that's really the battle that we're in now. Is that crypto is starting to centralize a lot more, especially the more popularity it gets, especially with one of the bigger exchanges. With crypto in its name, it is very centralized. But then there is the aspect of the DeFi, which is decentralized. I think there's going to be a war that goes along with centralized and decentralized, especially in crypto. That actually brings me to a question. So with your book, one of the questions that you it seems like you ask in the book at least is, you know, what do you know about the future of cryptocurrency? And I think that's kind of where we're at right now, is trying to figure out what is the future of cryptocurrency.
Right.
So I asked that question to you. You know, what do you know or feel about the future of cryptocurrency related to your book?
Right.
Or how did the AI help you for the future?
Yeah,
crypto.
I actually have a crystal ball, so I know
Nice.
the future. I'm just kind of acting my part in the AI world. So I'll give you the serious answer. I would say that I, in 2018, had this big idea, which was, why can't we invest in people? Like, it just seems like so obvious. Like, if you ask yourself, like, you know, why do we have to invest in a startup that could potentially fail? Like, it's very likely startups don't work out in the end. Why can't I just invest in the founder who I do believe in, right? Most people believe in, like, the founders of things and not necessarily the startup. So what if you could invest in, like, the founder's coin? That was, like, the thought, like, that sparked, like, this wildfire in my head of, like, okay, here we go. Like, why can't I just invest in every person that I know? Like, I am invested in them in my time, my energy. Some people I actually financially support because I care about them. But what if there was a way to actually invest in the people in my network? Like, that seems pretty obvious too. Like, we just don't have this funding mechanism yet to invest in a person. And I feel like it would work like the stock market for people. Like, if you think about the stock market right now, it's just you're investing in publicly traded companies. But if you had, like, publicly traded people, like, I think that would be more fruitful for most people, because most people don't know how to, like, analyze, you know, a balance sheet and look at the financials of a company to make a good decision, like whether or not you should invest in, like, Coinbase or something. But I think a lot of people are a good judge of character, whether or not a person's worth their time to, like, actually build a relationship with. So why not we just, like, capture the value of our relationships, and then from there we'd have, like, this new way we can make money just by existing. Like, it just would be really cool to, like, have a UBI essentially of, like, your network, because you're so invested in them, you want them to succeed, and then their success is your success. Like, I want that to exist, and that's why I wrote the book.
What would be the, I don't know if it's saying too much that's in the book, but what would go into the, I guess, the depth of what you're investing in? Like, is it like their home life? Like, do they have a family? Is there stuff like that you're thinking too? Or is it just like, or is it just their straight up business aspect?
So I kind of, a lot of this is speculation because it doesn't exist yet, right? So it's just whatever I thought, like how I thought it out. But what I think would be the best way for, like, especially in crypto, is that every person decides how you should evaluate their coin. So for myself, I would make it, like, impact driven. So if I can make an impact on, like, individual people's lives, and then, like, impact in society, like by creating companies maybe that help a lot of people, or just, like, volunteering, like, my own time, I think that's how I would want to be, like, evaluated as my coin. But other people are very money motivated, right? I think a large part of society is money motivated. Yeah. At least in the crypto space, that's what it looks like too. And so for those people, maybe it's like accumulation of assets. Like, the more NFTs they collect, or the more, like, real estate, like, that would be the value that that's how you would evaluate their coins. But there's a lot of nuance in between those two. And I think that every person being able to decide how to evaluate themselves, that doesn't even exist right now. And so even just having the option to make that decision would be, like, a huge empowering, like, thing.
So it would almost be like you would want to create or maybe integrate with a social platform, right? Maybe one that might go private at some point in the near future or not.
Hopefully.
That would give you a social score, right? Or something along those lines that could then you could give to people or your circle, and that could determine your value, right?
Yeah, there's already personal tokens out there that exist. Like, I don't know if you guys have heard of Rally or DeSo. Like, those are social currencies where you can, like, create an account and then there's a value connected to your account. But the problem is that any entity can create an account, so it's not just people, it's also projects. Like, a DAO can create an account, or like an NFT, like someone who's, like, you don't even know who they really are. I feel like the value here in this market is that every person's, like, verified, like almost like a social security number. You would know that there's a person behind that coin. And I think that that concept still isn't existing there today. Like, we need a version of this where, you know, it's not corrupted by money interest of, like, corporations and, like, other, like, I don't know. I don't want to like be too ostracizing, but like I think we need like a pure market that's only for people, because we don't have that in any aspect of our like society right now.
It's a great thought mentality, and obviously an idea. I guess that goes with like another question of like, okay, well, we're talking about this technology that could possibly be linked to somebody to give them value, have their social circle, or even just a regular stranger look into investing. How, like, what's a good explanation of spinning this to show that this type of technology that you're thinking of, especially with your book, helps humanity, right? Like where would this progress us?
So there's many ways that this could help humanity. Like I said earlier, that I think that this solves the biggest problem is our economy. Like if you really think about it, our economy is like a machine that tells us like where we should be prioritizing our time, our energy. Like we prioritize hedge fund managers more than nurses and teachers. Like that doesn't really make sense in terms of like how our economy structures the value of people's jobs. And so decoupling like our current economy from like how we value ourselves, like that's just the most empowering thing you could do. It would open up so many more opportunities for like entrepreneurs who maybe they wouldn't create their own business today in our current system because they don't have the right funding mechanism that would make it work in the long run, right? Like there's just so many things that like open up once you have the freedom to value your own time, and like that power of controlling your value, like that's something we desperately need like in every aspect of society. So I think it's like starting there, and then you just have like ripple effects from there.
Well, you bring up teachers as one job, and one thing that sticks out to me, especially with someone that has kids, you know, when the school year starts, there's always a list that comes out, right? And they're asking for, you know, the parents to do some type of contribution, you know, tissues or any other miscellaneous things that could help the classroom through the year. Like something like this could potentially help thriving teachers, like teachers that, you know, one, they're always underpaid. It doesn't matter what state they're in, regardless population wise or the density of their city or just the outlook, especially in a state like mine, Arizona, they're extremely underpaid. This is something that could actually bolster, right, or help compensate some of the value. And if they're a legitimate teacher, right, you know that investment would go into not just them, but then into your children. So it has like a reverse opposite benefit effect.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. Like parents could invest in the teachers that they really like. In my book, I say that like you probably shouldn't create your own coin until you're 18. But like, let's say you're a graduating senior of high school, like there could be teachers that like know who their best students are and like want to like invest in their futures. Like it could be like
that's insider trading.
Okay, nope. I think insider trading is okay.
SEC is going to be all over that.
Well, these are entities. These are people. So the SEC can't get around insider trading.
Don't worry. Give it time. Regulation will get it. They always do.
Yeah, it is funny. Insider trading is something that I think we have a huge problem with today. And we don't really do anything about it. It's like, once you're rich enough, like, you're above regulation.
I mean, the government alone and their minglings alone, it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Our representatives do insider trading. Yeah. Like, it's a horrible problem. But wouldn't it be better if like everyone was doing insider trading at the same time?
Yeah, that's a win-win.
Well, I mean, you're leveling the playground then, right?
The playground because of the school analogy.
Buzzing.
Nice.
But no, you're right, Scott. I think that there are a lot of problems we have today that I hope we don't have in this new system I'm like envisioning. But there's only one way to figure it out, and it's by actually building it. So that's why I've been so vocal about it, is that I think this idea has a lot of benefits for society, and some of the downsides are things that I'd like us to like all figure out together. And that's why a decentralized system makes sense, because you need your community to like help you with these like complicated issues.
Agreed.
Do you feel like NFTs have kind of already addressed that a little bit, though?
What, the insider trading thing, or?
No. Just like the adding value to like just someone in your circle, your inner circle, right? Or something along those lines. Like I don't know what your experience is with NFTs, but my experience thus far, it seems like it's, you know, a lot of artists, they're getting involved, and a lot of utilities being built at this point with some of the projects. But at the end of the day, the starting stages of an NFT project that's going to be at least mildly successful seems to be the community that they build prior to even launching, right? And so that's these people, you know, they get, you know, 10,000 people in a Discord channel to discuss the project that's being placed and things like that, of, you know, the artwork, building whatever utility that's going to be going on to this non-fungible token, and they're like laying basically the groundwork of what you're talking about, is like this social structure. So that's what my question is. Like, do you feel like maybe NFTs are already kind of addressing this a little bit, or do you feel that maybe they're just scratching the surface and there is more in depth that can be played with, you know, what you talk about in your book?
So I have like a few things to say about NFTs. The first thing, yeah,
please.
The first thing is that, you know, it's still so new. Like I feel like we take it for granted, but this technology didn't become mainstream until like maybe 2017. Like, it has not been that much time. Like, and Bitcoin hasn't even been around that long. So we're kind of speculating on like the future of this ever-changing industry. And so when I look at NFTs, I see as like one of the first or second iterations of this technology. Like, that's how early we are still. That being said, I think that there's a lot of awesome use cases in the NFT space, like especially for artists, like you said. But NFTs are so much more than art, right? There's so many different ways that you can use an NFT, like even like, you know, selling your house. Like, what when we get to the point that we can have an NFT be like the deed of your house, and then you can buy it on the blockchain. Like, when I get to that point, I'll be like, okay, like NFTs are like really developed now. Like, this is so mainstream. We're just still like in the we're in the phase where rich people who have money to like throw at NFTs are doing that, but there isn't like mainstream adoption. We're still in the early adopter phase. So until we get to the point where like everyone can do something with NFTs, like, I don't think we're gonna get there. We're not gonna be there yet. I actually created book NFTs, so that was the other point I made. It was something I was doing in the NFT space, was I was turning my book into an NFT so that you can access it like as an ebook and then buy like the cover art, which is like the book cover. And so I made those on wax, and that was something I was doing to like experiment with NFTs. But I think there's so many things even within the publishing industry that you could do with an NFT that no one's really experimenting with yet.
Well, I know with Revain Coin, I don't know if you're familiar with that project, but I know that they are doing a lot of asset allocation, so you can collateralize things. There are a couple realtors in the Minneapolis area that I am aware of, at least. I don't follow them regularly, but I know that they have sold real property that was the title.
NFTs and
Revain Coin. Sorry. I'll just kind of start over. So you stated in our little mix up there that you haven't heard of Revain Coin. So Revain Coin is a proof of work, fork of Bitcoin, and basically what its main purpose is asset allocation. It's like NFTs would be should be thriving on a network like this, just because it was built specifically to do NFT and asset allocation of utility items like this. So what I was saying is that they've already started doing projects. There are realtors in Minneapolis that are tokenizing deeds to homes and or commercial property that I've at least seen on social media with some of the things that they're doing, and they're utilizing Revain Coin's asset allocation to basically distribute out so multiple investors can invest in this deed or title thing of buying into it, which kind of plays on your book too of investing in people, because this literally they're doing that on Revain Coin right now. Something similar to it. Scott mentioned, we're mining it personally. So it's something that we're also looking into because asset allocation is something that's kind of plays on some of our background.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I honestly like those kind of like connecting like NFTs to the real world with like, you know, asset allocation, like that sounds great. But I still think that we're so early. Like it's just crazy. Like even the people I interviewed for my book who are like leaders in the crypto space, like they feel behind, and they're the ones who are like, you know, making these changes. So it just feels like everyone is just in a constant state of catch up.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, we even had a NFT marketer, didn't we?
Yeah,
on our show. Yeah, so I mean, who would have thought that's a thing? Like he does marketing for NFTs, so that's, I mean, it's moving, but we're not big on NFTs really either, but it's moving.
Well, and I think that's the thing is you kind of made mention of it earlier. Is it's not widely accepted right now. Like, look, for us, we're just dabbling in NFTs because we just recently figured out what they are, right? And we still kind of don't know exactly all the details of some of these NFTs, but we you know, put some mined Ethereum into some of the projects, or Solana, or whatever, you know, whatever the project may be on the particular blockchain, but we're still novices compared to some of these people that, like you were saying earlier, YOLOing the money they have into these NFTs and turning a profit.
Yeah. I feel like the profit making version of NFTs, like that's not really sustainable.
Yeah.
Like I think I saw like it was the Jack Dorsey tweet, like it was almost $50 million that it was last sold for, and it just went on the like auction again for like $200. Like, how do you lose that much value in like a couple years? Like it only makes sense if you think about NFTs as a bubble, because that's how I see it right now. I actually wrote a chapter about bubbles just so that with crypto specifically, like it's the perfect mechanism for creating bubbles. Like nothing like it has really existed before. Like even if you look at like Beanie Babies as like an example, like that was just like a very like one-off example. But with crypto, every single new cryptocurrency is like its own bubble, and then you have the whole industry which is a bubble. Like, so you kind of need to give yourself some reality checks along the way, otherwise you're gonna fall into this like I need to make a quick buck mentality. And I feel like I'm in crypto in the long run, like next 10 years. I don't want to be a part of projects that are like only looking at like the next year or 2 years or something. You know what I mean? Like it's not the best use of my time.
No. So, well, you make mention of that, right? And it seems like, well, not even seems like. So there is talk of there's a cycle within crypto, right? There's always, or at least there's been a trend of some type of cycle that's correlated with Bitcoin. And what you're saying, or what I heard you say, right, is it seems like this is just a constant bubble. Like it is constantly going to be a thing. Like we're going to hit a peak, bubble pop, come back down, and continue doing this. This is basically referring to the Bitcoin cycle, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Bitcoin's like one of the better examples, just because it's like every 4 years or something they have the halving, and so it kind of creates this inflation, or like it's naturally gonna like expands over time, and then once it reaches a certain point, people like kind of have this natural reality check where it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't invest at this point, or people try to sell at the peak also, which like causes, you have these whales are like, all right, I made enough money, I'm going to sell now, and then that like impacts the whole market. Like even the market itself is too small, where like if a couple of whales can impact the whole thing, like it doesn't mean that like we're not in a bubble. It just means that like our bubble indicators are just like very obvious. Like it's whales or institutional investors. Even like Elon Musk tweeting something like seems to impact Dogecoin's value a lot. Like it's just not it's not based in reality. It's based off hype. It's based off of like emotional investing. Like those aren't indicators of a objectively like valued thing. It's like very much emotions and subjectivity. So that's why I'm like, I try to stay in reality by not paying attention to like NFT space too much, because I think a lot of it is based off of hype and not necessarily true value.
So what type of projects are you interested in then? With, you know, you're not really focusing too much on NFTs and things like that. Are there projects that you favor? And if so, you know, why are you entertaining those over, you know, something like an NFT?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of projects that I actually invest into, I feel like Bitcoin's the only one I really put most of my money into. Everything else is just like curiosity, I would say. Like, I think Ethereum's great. Like, I wrote a lot about Ethereum in my book, but I'm not convinced Ethereum's going to be great until after 2.0 is released. Like, I haven't used it that much because of the gas fees. So, like, I'm in like this kind of limbo phase with Ethereum. Harmony is a great project that I've met like the founders of, and they're doing a lot of interesting work to like build their platform and like get like applications built on it. So that's another project I've been watching. I think I spend most of my time focused on social currencies. Like I mentioned DeSo earlier. It stands for Decentralized Social, and they've been around for a year. You might have heard of BitClout. Like BitClout started as like this, you know, let's just, you know, take accounts from Twitter and we'll turn them onto our social platform and see what happens. And then they pivoted to DeSo because they realized they needed to create a layer 1 solution that solves a lot of the social media problems. Like, you won't have to pay like a gas fee every time you like a post. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you need to have something where it's basically free to use the platform, and then cost money at like when you're creating like NFTs or something like more tangible. And so DeSo has been like a really interesting program I've been following and, you know, investing in. Like, I bought an NFT on their platform and depending on other projects. Those are the main ones. I mean, I follow pretty much all the big ones that everyone else does. I just don't necessarily invest in them.
What makes you invest, if at least put money into like Bitcoin versus other projects that are smaller? Obviously, you made a good point on Ethereum. You know, the gas fees are kind of what's put you in limbo with Ethereum, and probably a love. We also have a love-hate relationship with Ethereum. Maybe not so much because of the gas fees, but because of just its usability as a miner is not very friendly. So yeah, what makes you inject funds into or invest into Bitcoin over other little projects that you're just entertaining?
Right. I will say also, like, I think Ethereum's great. Like, I think Vitalik's awesome. Like, if I'm putting money into an ecosystem, like, I have to really believe in it. And so I wish I could buy like Vitalik Buterin coin. Like, I do that in a heartbeat, but it's just the Ethereum in and of itself. Like, I don't know how proof of stake will work with that specific cryptocurrency. Even like his dad, Dimitri, gave me a quote from my book. It's in chapter 1. Like, I asked him for feedback on my book, and he's like, yeah, the way you explained Ethereum was bad. Here, use this instead. And I thought that was cool. So, like, I have nothing but good things to say about, like, the people behind Ethereum. It's just, when I'm actually deciding whether to invest in a cryptocurrency, I have my own cryptocurrency evaluation checklist. And that's actually chapter 10 of my book. I basically break down, like, 30 questions that you should be asking yourself when you you want to invest in a project, because a lot of them, you need to understand what's going on under the hood. And if you're not asking yourself these questions, then there's no way you can know if it's a good investment or not. So I have that in my book. I'm happy to share some of it with you, but that's how I decide whether or not.
So the dartboard method isn't good.
You know, they have a term for that in Wall Street. It's called the random walk.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that doesn't work.
It doesn't. It's funny. I don't know if you guys heard of the random walk thing at all. Is that a new thing too? So
no, yeah.
It's an obscenity in Wall Street. They hate it because basically it proves that, like, the most seasoned investor couldn't choose a stock portfolio as good as like a random like monkey choosing, like, throwing darts at a dartboard. Like, so it is just all random chance. and they hate to admit that, because if they did, that means they would be out of a job. Like, what's the point of paying a hedge fund manager if their ability to pick a stock portfolio is no better than any random, like, flip a coin type of scenario?
Nice.
I mean,
well, you got to have that broker who's the inside trader.
Yeah, unless you have inside information like Nancy Pelosi.
There we go. Win-win.
You can quote me on
rolling
that
her
also.
under the bus. Rolling her under the bus. Well, that brings up a good point of, well, what just recently happened this past year, right? Which would be 2021, that got popular, which was retail investing. Robinhood is now popular. I'm not a huge fan of Robinhood, and I've been vocal about that, but
garbage.
Retail investors are utilizing Robinhood, Webull, things like that, and they're basically taking a fund manager's job, right, away out of the market. There are other avenues of just...
Can we talk about Robinhood a little bit? I feel like that is a great topic. So when I first started investing, it was through Robinhood. It was like I bought Bitcoin, Ethereum, all those things like on Robinhood. Mm-hmm. And then it wasn't until like 3 years later when that whole Wall Street bets with like the short squeeze happened.
GameStop.
And I realized, oh shit, I don't own anything on this app. Like, I don't have a seed phrase, like there's no wallet. Like, if they decided, oh, we're not gonna let you sell tomorrow, they could do that and I would be screwed. So I don't really own anything on the app. So I immediately sold it all, took like my gains or whatever, and then I like put it into a different platform. So that was the first thing. The second thing that I realized with Robinhood is that they are like the king of insider trading. Like, that's their business model. Like, did you guys know this?
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Like, how do you think like they make money if like they don't make any commissions on like sales of like retail investors? It's because they take all this data of retail investors and they sell it to like hedge fund managers and like institutions, like investment firms, and those firms can make money on this, like on those trades in the margins, where like in seconds they're already making it, like they're buying it and selling it to you. So when you buy it through Robinhood, there's like a delay, and that delay is how like they make all this money. And so it's just all a game, and I hate the game. I wish it didn't exist. Yeah. Why would I want to compete with like these institutional investors that are doing the insider trading at scale and making a shit ton of money, and then us retail investors, like maybe we make one or two good bets and that's all we like, that's our only hope, is that, oh my gosh, if I just hold on to this Bitcoin, like that'll be enough. It's like, no, they're just making money knowing exactly what you're going to do when you do it, before you do it. It's like, I hate the system. We need a new one.
Which is why we need the future of investing in people.
Which one of the reasons why you wrote your book is we need a different system.
Yeah, I feel like
instead of investing in big companies,
the most fair thing, even if you're like the richest person alive, like let's say you're Jeff Bezos, you're retired, you have all the money in the world, you create your account in my system, right? And now you have to compete with the same like random person on the street, and all you have is the 24 hours in the day that everyone else does. And that would be the most fair way that you can like allocate your funds, is that yes, this random person has 24 hours and so do you, and maybe you decide you don't want to spend that much money because it's not worth your time in this system. Well, guess what? This other person's going to work their ass off and make more money because it is worth their time. And so that's what I want, is that the rich people who already won in our current system, they're not going to want to create an account because they already won. But everyone else who's like still trying every day, like we're going to be the ones that make this network valuable. And then they're going to end up being more wealthy than the people who are like holding US dollars when it crashes down someday. Anyways, that was I'll get off my soapbox.
No, that's good, but you're explaining kind of what you're talking about in your book, right? I mean, you're trying to make a social currency, someone that's actually going to, try to benefit, or, I mean, they could also try to take advantage of, but someone who possibly be, that entrepreneur trying to bring value to their social circle.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that we even have to decide to work for our whole lives to be valuable. Like, so what if you make a podcast and like no one listens to it? You're creating value to like your niche audience, and if they can invest in you, then they are also successful if you are a success. So it's like a new way to incentivize your followers to help you succeed as like a creator. And I think that's the biggest value, is that in our current internet era, like it's a very one-sided like value relationship where I am the reason, let's say Taylor Swift is successful because I'm going to all her concerts, I'm buying like all the music she creates, but then I don't benefit financially from doing that. It's like I'm donating, like I'm consuming, like it's not, there's no real financial benefit for me. But if I can invest in her coin, then now there's this new way that I can help her succeed, and then I succeed as well. Like that's what we need. We need like a way that kind of captures the value we're already creating in our internet era.
Well,
now I'm worried on celebrity rug pulls.
Sorry, what?
I said now I'm worried about the celebrity rug pulls, because if they,
well, those already happened. I mean, Safe Moon is a perfect example.
Yeah.
But you're talking about, you know, Taylor Swift and trying to figure out her coin and how, you know, you could thrive as she's thriving, right? Well, what about the inspiration to how she got famous? Like, how are the guys that she wrote her songs about then also benefiting from this? This seems like it could get into a deep rabbit hole of trying to figure out the social aspect or the social value of what we're trying to accomplish, right?
It's an interesting thought experiment, and I think that's the point of this. It's like, I don't have all the answers,
yeah,
but I'd love to figure it out. Like, it just, like, who knows, like, would Taylor Swift owe royalties or something to people that she's written songs about? Like, maybe.
Entire breakup albums.
Yeah. Honestly, like, wouldn't getting married be like a huge like win for society? Like, we should all, if instead of going to a wedding and you're like, are they joining like their coins? Like, does that make sense?
It's a merger. It's a merger.
Instead of a wedding gift being like a random money, you can invest in the couple. Maybe you can create like an index fund of that couple. Like, there's so many interesting things you can do with this. Honestly, why not create an index fund of like a country where you can say the value of the U.S. economy is the collection of all of the U.S. citizens in it? Like, that makes sense to me. Like, why can't we do that?
Yeah.
There are a lot of ideas. Yeah, no, I like this thought mentality of just trying to figure out, like, it brings like the true entrepreneurial spirit, right? Of like, okay, well, what if, like, how can we turn this into something that we can thrive in?
I feel like I've been living in my own head since 2018. I'll see someone down the street, I'll be like, I would invest in that person, and no one else understands what the hell I'm talking about.
Why though? Like, is it because they're like, what would be the reason? Give us an example why you would invest in someone you see walking down the street.
The way that I see it, if you're one of the first people to create a coin in this network, you're already like have like a leg up against everyone else who's late. So just for being early, you're valuable in my idea. So every person that creates a coin, I should invest in, because in the long run, like 10 years from now, they're going to have a way bigger advantage over like the mainstream audience that joins later. So I'm investing in the early adopters who are like randomly on the street, and that would be a good investment to me, because I want to invest in other believers who like will kind of perpetuate the idea forward. So by my investing in them, they're more likely to tell other people who will also create coins for them to invest. Like, it's starting to sound like an MLM, but honestly, here's another interesting thing. Every cryptocurrency is structured like an MLM. Have you thought about this at all? Like it.
Oh, anything with tokenomics is literally a Ponzi scheme. Tell me it's not.
The main difference, though, I will say, is that I think the, accountability, like the fact that you can see how everything's structured in a cryptocurrency, like if you know like how much the founders are going to make, that at least makes it where it's more transparent. And I think the transparency part of it is what MLMs today don't have. Like they want to string you along until like you've given them everything, and then they just take in it all, and it's the founders at the top, like of the pyramid, that win. Like I think having it like more like a trapezoid than a pyramid is the difference. Like yes, you still have like that structure, but there's more room at the top for people to win. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Better than a pyramid for sure.
So yeah, it's if you see a cryptocurrency that is structured like a pyramid, run. I think trapezoid is a better system.
Yeah.
It does sound like an MLM though, which is why I made that point.
That's funny.
Well, if you think about it, dude, like you were saying earlier, crypto and in general is almost like some type of multi-level marketing scheme, right? Very polite way versus saying Ponzi. But there are quite a lot on the Binance contract or Binance chain when it comes to just.
It's funny. One of my friends from college created Ponzi coin. He like literally called it Ponzi coin.
Nice.
And there were people within his network that like made money by like essentially it was a Ponzi scheme. He was not allowed to sell anything, otherwise he'd go to prison. So I think he has to wait till the statute of limitations ends before he can like talk about it publicly. But I thought it was fascinating, and he like went to Y Combinator, like really smart guy. I think he was making a point that like they're all structured like a Ponzi scheme. Like let's not pretend like it's not that. But yeah, he could go to prison. It's not good. But I think
that's hilarious. Yeah.
I'm sorry, his name was? No, I'm just kidding.
I'll keep it anonymous until the statute of limitations ends.
Nice.
I don't want to be the reason he goes to jail. But he hasn't sold anything, so he didn't financially benefit from this like crazy idea he had. But some of his friends did, and they aren't in prison. I don't think so.
Well, that's just like that one guy. Didn't one guy make one that was like straight up? He said this is gonna be a rug pull or whatever it was, and then he took all the money. And what was that one that happened? Did you hear about that one, Mark?
Yeah, he literally said it was going to be the exact name of it.
Take your money. Yeah,
this is a scam coin. He did a video about it too. This is a scam coin. Do not invest into it. And like all of a sudden he became
or something, made a whole bunch of money,
and was not able to
really took the money.
Yeah, wasn't able to do
anything.
anything.
The guy who created a cryptocurrency as a joke, and it became successful. What was it called? Dogecoin.
Doge, yeah. That one's still going.
Basically, a spit in the face. Billy Marcus, good job, man. Yeah, we actually really like Dogecoin. I feel like Dogecoin is one of those things that's like, it's just very ironic that this is gaining momentum. People love it. It's a complete joke. And now there are spin-offs of it that are completely ripping it off. So
I wouldn't invest in it personally. I think part of my investment decision is like, is there a capped supply? Like that's a really big deal for me. And so the fact that Dogecoin, like the price will never really keep going up because there's like more supply that's introduced, like doesn't really sound like a good long-term play for me. But meme coins in general, like what's the real thing that gives it value? Because people find it funny? I don't think so. I think it's the same MLM thing, but in the long run, like people aren't going to find it funny when they lose money.
That's true.
Well, so Dogecoin, one of the main reasons you said you wouldn't invest into it is because of supply cap, but you are a fan of Ethereum, which also doesn't have
that's
a
good
supply
point.
cap.
You want me to talk about that more? So I haven't invested in Ethereum. That was another reason why I haven't done that. Also, like, I think their reasoning is that they introduce like supply that meets demand. So I think in the long run, it's not going to be like Bitcoin where it keeps skyrocketing up. Like once the demand meets the supply, like I think it's going to look more stable in price. I think so. If you're looking for an investment in Ethereum, like just realize that it's not built the same way Bitcoin is, where the price will just keep going up because of demand going up. Like the supply will continue to meet the demand, and that's why it's not necessarily a good play in the long run.
I actually have not heard that explanation yet with Ethereum, so that's actually a good point to make. That basically the supply that's being given out is literally meant to meet demand, which I think at this point, especially with them moving into proof of stake, I don't think that Ethereum really is meeting demand because of the gas fees being atrocious in most cases, depending on what's really happening on the block.
Well, I think everyone should do their own research, but like if you're just investing because it's like the number 2 cryptocurrency, like it's not a good reason to do that. I mean, there's definitely projects within it that might have that like long-term potential that I was talking about. But yeah, it's really all speculation right now. Even Bitcoin is, hopefully will last the test of time, but there's not a guarantee there either. Like theoretically, with like this environmental, like a lot of people are like, oh, but Bitcoin's bad for the environment. I'm like, it's proof of work, I guess, that's bad for the environment, but that could improve if the miners are using cleaner ways to mine it. Like that could be fine. But what is happening is that countries in response are banning proof of work as like a way to perform consensus. And if proof of work starts getting banned, then it's going to be a lot harder to use Bitcoin, and that might make it harder in general for mass adoption of Bitcoin, which is like the whole reason people are investing. They think that Bitcoin will be like the #1 cryptocurrency for the world, and that's only going to happen if mining keeps up with like what we need Bitcoin to like do, like capacity wise. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm
yeah. Well, I mean, I think at this point Bitcoin is like a true store of value coin, so it's basically put your money in and let it ride type of investment, or like a 401k, right? You're just investing and letting it grow over time. Because the proof of work itself getting banned in countries is a threat to Bitcoin in itself, or in mining in general in itself. I don't think that probably would happen beyond countries like that are having really power struggles, China being one of them. We really only have one state that has a power struggle here in the United States that I'm aware of. That could be there could be more. I haven't heard anything in the news pertaining to power struggling or having effects of not enough power for proof of work. But we're obviously fans of proof of work because we, myself, Scott, another partner that we have with Coastal Crypto, we mine cryptocurrency. So proof of work is one of the revenue generators for this podcast, our business, things like that. You had brought up earlier reasons why you should invest into like Ethereum, just because it's the #2 coin. And you said in your book you have a list, roughly 30 questions you need to ask, right? Can you give us just a couple of the questions that you need to ask from your list for the listeners, so they can get an understanding of things that we've done it on our channel, especially YouTube, showing, hey, what are we looking for in a project, or what are we actually looking at to entertain a project? So I'd like to hear something that you do.
I don't know if you can see this. I just pulled out the book. I have like a diagram that I made, so well, I'll go through some of it. Be like a little book reading for you guys.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, just a couple.
So
you don't have to
I
go
think personally,
like the whole list.
understanding the leadership team is really important for any project, because until it's decentralized, you're putting all your faith into like the creators of that cryptocurrency. So like, for instance, Bitcoin, we don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, and that's perfectly fine because it's a completely decentralized cryptocurrency, so you can trust that the system runs itself, right? Like, that's why Bitcoin's a good bet. Mm-hmm. And in Ethereum, it's still being developed, right? It's still going through this big change. So a lot of this faith is in how the leadership team will, move Ethereum in that direction. And so I think knowing that not everything is decentralized in this space is a really important part of this conversation, that, if the leadership team like has a history of creating cryptocurrency, like they have like a good track record, maybe they're not like, they're more trustworthy. I think there's websites that actually like give you a score based off how like good you are as a leader in this space. So that would be like one example, is like, what is the leadership team like? Like, look at their LinkedIn, maybe what is their background. Another example is community. I think we talked about this earlier for NFTs. Pretty much every cryptocurrency needs a strong community for it to be valuable. Like if you don't have the community piece, then the cryptocurrency isn't going to be valuable in it like by itself. So it's the community that brings value to the cryptocurrency project. So knowing the community, how many members there are they like mainly bots? Like I think a lot of communities right now in the NFT space, like I'll join a Discord and it's like all bots. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna buy something that obviously is like artificial in like their community. Like you really need an organic community of real people, otherwise the project is not gonna last longer than like a year, maybe. Like I don't know. Like it's like that's another one. I mean, a lot of these other things are like liquidity and like, is there like investment like from a venture capital firm? Was it crowdfunded by an ICO? Like, does it have the money to make it work, like the development part of it? So, like understanding all of these like parts, like kind of taking this cryptocurrency and like breaking it down into essential chunks, and then rating those chunks to see like, okay, now you've answered all these questions. Do you still feel like it's a good investment? Because at the end of the day, it's going to be up to the person. Like, I can't tell you, like, we can both, like, you know, negotiate or, like, argue about whether or not Ethereum is a good investment. But at the end of the day, you're going to make your own decision. So what I try to do is help you make the most informed decision you can make. And I think that's the takeaway here, is, like, be an informed investor. Do not just invest because your friend told you to, or you looked at like CoinMarketCap and you saw the top 10 list that day. Like, all these things are like data points, and the most data you can have, the more or the better you'll feel about your investment. And that way, if it does, like, if Bitcoin, excuse me, if Bitcoin tomorrow like lost half its value, I'm not going to sell because I know from my research that it will probably increase in value over time. And I'm more likely to hodl because I'm an informed investor. And I think that's the point, is like, don't invest if like half the value like is gone tomorrow that you would sell, because that's exactly what happens. Is people invest in something and then all their friends that told them to invest, they sell, and so then they are like, they sell also, and now they've actually lost money. But if they were informed, theoretically they would be willing to hold longer, and then it wouldn't be a bad investment because you waited it out. So be an informed investor, be like, commit to your decisions and wait it out. Like that's the best like non-investment advice, investment advice.
Diamond hands.
Yeah, but like, don't just diamond hands because everyone else does either. Like it's the same problem. Like
if Reddit
you need to
says
decide
it,
on your own.
If Reddit says it, I'm a diamond hands.
But yeah, it just, I think like knowledge is power in this space because there's just so many things changing. So at least knowing what you do know, like it just will make you feel better as an investor.
Very true.
That was actually a great way to kind of lean us into the last part of the podcast. Just bullet pointing those last things really, I think, is a standout to the book. It's something people could actually look forward to if they wanted to go and actually purchase the book. Before we get into our last questions, if you could just tell us, where can you find the next
it's pretty much
Gold Rush?
everywhere you find books. Amazon is like the biggest bookseller, and the audiobook is also available on Amazon. Otherwise, like Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Google, pick your poison. It's going to be there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, let's jump into our fun question time. I kind of wish we had like lasers or something to go off when we're doing this. What is one thing that's on your bucket list that you want to do before, I don't know, that you retire, before you leave this world?
Is this supposed to be related to what I've been talking about just ago?
But whatever, yeah. Personally,
honestly, like the biggest bucket list item is to build this challenge coin. That's what I call in the book. Like, if I die and this thing isn't like in the world, it's like I will be upset at myself. So like, it's the biggest bucket list item I have. It's like, I made a book, and that is like the launch point of building this actual idea now.
It's awesome. What is one conspiracy theory that you think is real, or that you lean on? Like, man, that one, I'm not gonna let that one go.
I don't know why, but this one just popped in my head. Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself.
Oh yes, good one. Yeah, that's a tough sell. Yeah, I agree. Mark's on the same boat there. We definitely don't think he.
Well, you bring up rabbit holes. We actually do have a few episodes where we dive into that a little bit deeper, and Antarctica gets mentioned. So maybe something, if you haven't listened to the podcast or you want to go and check out the episodes.
Have you ever had a weird Uber experience?
Weird Uber experience. I don't use Uber that much because I live in Los Angeles and I have to drive myself everywhere.
Or Lyft? Is Lyft still around?
I went to Portland and I was traveling to meet some friends there, and I remember from the airport like thinking, oh, this will be such a cool place, like everyone's so weird and quirky. And the Uber driver was like the most stone cold, like, I just do this for a job. And so I was like all excited, like, hey, like, do you have any recommendations for like cool things? Like, I'm a vegan, like, what are the cool vegan places? He's like, and then just like basically just didn't talk to me, even though I tried really hard to like be friendly with this person. And then finally, when I got to my like Airbnb, he's like, don't, like, he didn't even say anything. He didn't even say goodbye. He was just like, you know, have fun. It was just like the weirdest, like, stone cold. I honestly haven't had an experience like that before, so I don't know if it's like the best story. But
no, that's pretty good because that's so weird.
It's so, you know. Well, you know what's funny about that is, it seems like you're an introvert, right? Or an extrovert. You like to talk to people, right? And me being, I don't know, I'm on like both sides of that fence. Like, I like to talk to people, but then I also, if I'm in a Uber, you literally have the perfect Uber driver. Don't talk to me. Just drive me from point A to point B, and let's get this transaction completely over. Most of the time, I'm in an Uber completely wasted, so that's the reason why I don't want them to talk to me, because I've had too much to drink, and the reason I'm taking an Uber is to be responsible.
It kind of is.
If you even call that responsibility. But it's just funny that you prefer the Uber driver that I would have a weird experience with, that talks to you and has a conversation, versus the one that I would prefer.
It's actually funny. I consider myself like an ambivert, where like I can kind of, like, I need my alone time also. But I think for this trip, I was like ready to turn on the extroversion. So you're probably right. That being said, like, I have this interesting thing that I've discovered when I travel, is that if I ask locals for their recommendations, I'll get more interesting like experiences than if I just Google something. So I really lean on asking locals like their recommendations to actually decide what to do on that trip. And so that's why in that trip, like my first Uber driver, he was like my first local, and I was like, I need to like get all the information I can out of this guy, and he wasn't having any of it.
Did the rest of the trip go better, or did he set the tone of that trip? Because that would be crappy.
That's a loaded question, Scott.
Oh, okay. Nice.
It was good. I mean, good. My friends were working most of the week, so it was like mainly me walking around doing my own thing. So
it sounded like he did set the tone. He set the tone then.
Yeah.
Nice.
I will tell you one of the highlights from the trip. We went to a vegan strip club.
Oh.
I thought that was really cool. Only in Portland has that. The only place.
Of course.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Also, I asked, none of the strippers were vegan. It was just that they had a vegan menu there.
Huh.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, they do have the most strip clubs per capita in the United States, so I could see that they have a little bit of selection for everybody, right?
I remember learning that too while I was there. I was like, seriously? It's not Vegas? How is it not Vegas?
Wow.
Well, we greatly appreciate that you came on the show. If you could just tell us where we can find you, and then that's it.
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter. If you just look up Ethan Turer, also LinkedIn, Instagram. I think my Instagram, it's Van Life Book Tour, because I went on a book tour last year and lived out of my van. So I documented it on Instagram. But yeah, I'm pretty much available everywhere, social media wise. So reach out if you do end up buying the book and reading it. I love to be in touch with you and talk about it more. I feel like the way that this idea gets out there is by people reading the book and also wanting to help me build it. So please join this thought experiment, project that I'm working on.
I appreciate it.
It's cool.
Amigos out.
This has been the Amigos PC. Make sure to like, subscribe, and review us on all your podcasting platforms. And visit us at amigospc.net. Get our entire library of content and Amigos merch. Till next time, adios.